Welcome back to Raid Guides in a Trenchcoat featuring Arcadian M2 Savage. Honeybee Lovely.
You like jazz?
First things first, check your glam. I don't know what in the Masked Rose Fashion Report Yoshi P programmed into this fight, but the more you simp, the more damage you do. I don't make the rules, I just obey them.
Who's my obedient little bee?
Whoever made that anti-piss color propaganda about yellow glams tanking your clear rate by 10% each was clearly playing with paid actors. You must also perchance speaketh your thoughts unto this star like the ever-exalted Urianger, such that the divine utterance of bee doth not leave thy lips and present thine allies the opportunity to delivereth a crippling bee-related pun. You can't be anything, you can't believe in you or your group's abilities, and God forbid that your black mage needs to move back to their ley lines. Opening up the fight, Honeybee Lovely will go through 2 rounds of Storm Mechanic Showa Mechanic, where she'll either cast Splash of Venom or Drop of Venom, which has no other visual tell besides this tiny little yellow buff on her bar that has no discernible differences to help you in identifying it, so honestly what's the point? Your marker dance should have given you a clock spot which solves 90% of mechanics like this, with the other 10% telling you which support is rotating to which DPS. Oftentimes you'll have a tank weirdly at the east or west clock so that they rotate to the north half for these mechanics, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Alliteration prevails, as Splash always means that you'll need to spread, while Drop means that you'll get into duo pairs. The ensuing AoEs that she casts will either be a donut that you'll need to run out to the intercardinals after, or a line down the middle of the arena that you'll need to dodge into. Avoid the toxic honey balls and stack with your color partner, or spread out into uptime conscious positions unless it was donut spread, in which case the melees have to eat the downtime while you split DPS right, support left as you're facing the boss. You'll see all 4 of these options split amongst 2 casts before a tank buzzing mechanic, and then her time slot comes up and you'll go Honeybee live. The arena will change and everyone will get a simp bar above their head with a random number of simp stacks between 0 and 2 already filled in. Getting hit by any mechanic during a live gives you a simp stack, and believe you me that you're going to be forced to kiss some toes and take some simp stacks. That said, simping too hard will cause you to do a little drunk white boy dance, drop you back down to 0 stacks, and then give the boss a dom stack. More dom stacks just means more health and more damage, so maybe try not to subject your party to that. The most common mechanic in these live phases is center stage and outer stage combo, which is accompanied by an obvious visual tell with an even more incessant audio tell that used to be as loud as the Midwest in cicada season. If the pink telegraphs begin on the intercardinals, then stand out at max melee on the cardinals, then immediately run to the outer inner cardinals, and then end up on the inner cardinals again, but this time inside of the hitbox. If the telegraphs start on the cardinals, do this in the reverse order. That's then followed by a segment that I like to call Whose Tower Is It Anyway?, where the priorities are made up and your obligations don't matter. A number of heart towers will appear, and everyone who stands in a tower when it lands will get a heart. If no one stands in it, everyone gets a heart, and I'll let you in on the secret that this phase has room for 1 mulligan heart across your entire team, and this is the only phase that allows for even that. Further, this is not the mechanic of this live that you want to waste your mulligan on. Stick generally to your color quadrant, with the range players picking up towers outside of max melee, and melee characters giving everyone heart attacks as they greed to the last possible second. Capture all of her hearts and then go back to the realm of the Mad God days as the Roaming Hearts bullet hell segment begins. Dip, dodge, and try not to triple weave, as one of the lowest simp stack players is going to get a targeted advertisement that can only be mitigated by other similarly low heart players. Scuttle around as a group waiting for the stack to drop, while this massive fucking telegraph visually obscures the area around you and makes all the other hearts super effective. Waddle back to your corner for more of that Honeybee center outer stage television static, and then mid up for the finale before we cut to commercial for our first break. Back in the yellow arena, you'll get another tank mechanic, and then nobody will be seated during the Group B baiting segment of this encounter. The 2 party finder schools of thought here will have you either Mario Karting as a team of sheeple so that the tank can run you right into some lanes of oncoming traffic, or you can split up to partake of the Mario Party minigame that is not getting sideswiped by the onslaught of bees.
Start! Finish!
The swarm of bees is more sporadic in the Mario Party strat, but in my eyes, 1 death and a damage down is far better than 4 deaths and 3 damage downs. Pick your sandbags up off the floor and then get ready for Live 2, as the last commercial break is just about...
Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead.
B is for bait you to a bloody pulp!
Back on the live stage, the simp stack counters will have been reset, except this time you'll get a very specific spread of 4 players with 1 stack and 4 players with 0 stacks. As Honeybee Lovely telegraphs a stack or spread mechanic you're all going to forget to look at, group up with your like-minded fan clubs where 1 stack VIPs get to miss positionals in the north and the 0 stack group Bs get to fight with one another over where to bait the AoEs, which inevitably ends with one person getting 3 hearts and one person being left with only 1, which I'll tell you right now is going to give Dami Mommy exactly what she wants. The 0 stacks rotate around the boss baiting puddles until these 2 stack markers go off, leaving them all with, hopefully, 2 stacks, and then they just avoid mechanics until the end of the phase. Meanwhile, the 1 stack players need to not get hit by the greeting 0 stack players, and they'll be split into 2 teams, towers and spreads. If a spread telegraphs onto you, run away, and if not, then you've been selected to take this tower, you obedient little BU. Check the party finder description, but the DPS should usually take whichever tower is south or east, and the support should take whichever tower is north or west. It'll always be 1 DPS and 1 support with this mechanic unless you really fuck it up that badly. This should leave everyone at 2 hearts, which is great because the phase ends with the stored mechanic that nobody paid attention to, where instead of taking damage you take simp stacks, which is only detrimental if you fucked up one of the mechanics that transpired here. Drop some heavy mitigation for the Honey Finale B, and then we'll cut to another commercial break. If the Alarm 1 Bs could be described as attacking you head on, then Alarm 2 is more in line with the commercial for that all edges brownie pants, as you'll be toying between the edges of the arena as well as the edges of all these charging Bs. God, commercials aren't what they used to be. Miss another spread stack telegraph, and then everyone will group up onto the boss while 1 DPS and 1 support get these little fire arrow markers. Some B telegraphs will come out, and the DPS needs to go more or less southeast while the support goes more or less northwest so that they can both vomit out whatever tequila drink the bartender has been serving everyone. As the first group does this, another set of Bs will drop in either clockwise or counterclockwise from the first Bs. I know that your Gen Z ass has never so much as glanced at anything that wasn't a digital 7-segment display clock, but if another person drops their puddle in the middle of nowhere because they can't play follow the leader, I'm gonna have a Honey Bee rakedown.
Is everyone having a good time?
No. Drop your green pools in the same rotational direction as the Bs until all 8 puddles have been dropped, after which you'll group up in the hitbox again for 2 roll stack markers while you try not to get clipped by the last lattice of lancers. Lead into your pot window as you stack or spread again, and then the commercial break will end, leading you into the third and final of the live segments. Check your debuffs shortly after the phase begins because the Honeybee lawyers are raising defamation suits against you all and want to take you into 2 different groups, DPS and support. One group will have a shorter timer than the others, and those will be the people spreading out to the witness stands first. You'll get a center stage outer stage combo from the first live segment, and when it ends, if you have the defamations that are about to go off, you need to run to the outer edge of the arena from wherever your last save spot was. This is called color defamations, and if anyone is ever telling you to always go to your clock, then they are praying mantis on your downfall, and you should leave them to Venus Fly Trap another party. While the defamation players go out, the other group of players needs to stack up beneath the boss so that they don't get clipped, and then head to whatever tower is spawning in their color quadrant. Once the towers are soaked, you'll do the exact same center outer stage pattern in reverse and then switch positions. So if you were defamations first, now you're under the boss, and vice versa. Round that out with the last spread or stack mechanic, and that's a wrap on the live shows. Exiting out of that, and just as the Honeybee brain rot is starting to set in, the tanks get one more mechanic before Honeybee Lovely starts ranting to you about how you turned her hot girl summer into a hot girl bummer. You'll then get thrust into the final 2-minute long mechanic of "Hey, I'm Mr. Nisi, make out with me." The stage will be covered in more vape smoke than a high school bathroom, and if you aren't already standing in your clock spots, then odds are everyone will just blow up and die. That's because you'll all get one of these alpha or beta debuffs that have to be combined together to clear them before they consume the entirety of your health bar. But because the boss will be throwing a tantrum with some spicy magic damage raid wides, you have to combine these buffs thoughtfully instead of just having an orgy beneath her hitbox. I can't be asked to remember or even look up what the actual timers are, but just know that each alpha buff will have a beta buff with the same timer on it, creating a pairing, and they come in 4 different varieties of length. You have Shotgun Vegas Wedding, which is shorter than Arranged Marriage, which is shorter than Standard Courtship, and then High School Sweethearts gets the longest timer of them all. All these relationships, and you're still stuck with Bumble on your phone. When you and your partner have about 7 seconds left on your buffs, you both need to storm the center and make out to make your buff blow up, forcing everyone to take 3d8 psychic damage from the PDA, including yourselves. This will give everyone a magic vuln, and you have to kiss this early because around the time that your buff would have expired normally, the boss does a raid wide. And that raid wide hurts before having a vuln. Suffer through all 2 minutes of your cooldowns and plans being in shambles, and then get baited one last time at the end as your 2-minute burst window is just barely available to you before she gives herself 16 Dami Mommy stacks and nukes you out of the arena. But if you comb through your rotations, buzzed out the big guns, and deny her your love, then congrats. You've completed M2S. It's quite fitting, too, that B is the second letter of the alphabet. But at the end of the day, B stands for beating a dead horse with all of his B puns. I'm not even sorry in the slightest. Go watch a real guide.